A long time ago, in the land of Israel, there lived a young shepherd boy named David. David was the youngest of 8 brothers, and while his older brothers went off to fight in King Saul's army, David stayed home to take care of his father's sheep. David loved God very much, and every day he sang songs and played his harp while watching over the sheep. One day, David's father asked him to take some food to his brothers who were fighting in the army. So David packed up the bread and cheese and set off to the battlefield. When he arrived, he saw something that made his heart pound. Across the valley on the other side of the battlefield stood a giant of a man named Goliath. He was a warrior from the Philistine army, and he was huge, so tall that everyone was afraid of him. Goliath wore heavy armor and carried a massive spear, and every day he would shout across the valley, challenging the Israelites to send someone to fight him. But the soldiers were too scared, and no one dared to face him. As David listened to Goliath's taunts, he felt something stir in his heart. How could this giant speak against the army of the living God? David knew that God was stronger than any giant, so he went to King Saul and said, "I'll fight Goliath." King Saul was surprised. "But you're just a boy," he said. "Goliath is a mighty warrior. How can you fight him?" David replied, "When I was taking care of my father's sheep, a lion and a bear came and tried to take the sheep. But I chased them down, and with God's help, I rescued the sheep and killed the wild animals. The same God who saved me from the lion and the bear will save me from this giant." King Saul saw the courage in David's eyes and agreed to let him fight. He offered David his armor, but it was too heavy, and David could hardly move in it. So David took off the armor and chose to fight in his own way. He picked up his shepherd's staff, took his sling, and chose 5 smooth stones from a nearby stream. With these simple tools, David walked out to meet Goliath. When Goliath saw David coming, he laughed. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" he roared. "Come here and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." But David wasn't afraid. He looked up at Goliath and said, "You come against me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin. But I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel's armies, whom you have defied. Today, the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and everyone will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." With that, David reached into his bag, took out a stone, and put it in his sling. He swung the sling around and around, faster and faster, and then let the stone fly. The stone shot through the air and struck Goliath right in the forehead. The giant staggered and then fell to the ground with a mighty thud. David had defeated Goliath with just one stone. The Philistine army was terrified when they saw their champion fall, and they ran away. The Israelites cheered and chased after them, winning the battle. That day, everyone learned that it doesn't matter how big the challenge is or how small you might feel. With faith in God, you can overcome anything. David's bravery and trust in God showed the whole world that God is always with us, giving us strength and courage no matter how big the giants in our lives may be. And so, David returned home a hero, but more importantly, he returned with a heart full of faith, knowing that God's power is greater than any fear. The end. Please like and subscribe to help us grow our spiritual channel. Thanks.